Hello, everybody, and welcome to All Was Right. My name's Chris Thomas. You know me. Today I have on this really wonderful biological woman. Her name's Larissa. You can find her on TikTok at Over This Shit 6.0. That's her most current account, even though they're trying to ban her every 5 seconds. And I'm just super excited to have her on here. And I think we're going to be doing this together from now on. So I hope everybody enjoys today's show. Feel free to say something, too.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we both kind of came onto the TikTok scene. I think you were on a little bit before me, but we kind of found each other really early on, and we decided to team up, and it's become a really exciting ride. So, taking on all these people trying to cancel us, and in some cases trying to murder us, which we've gotten threatened a few times. So, I think it's going to be an uphill battle, but we're not going to be silenced. I actually, I've been lucky. I've only actually been, I haven't actually been officially banned from TikTok yet. I know, Larissa, you've been banned like 6 times or 5 times so far. I'm just about to face my first ban, so now I'm starting from scratch again. Um, I like to think of myself as a terrifically nice person, so it's kind of shocking that this has happened, but, you know, these snowflakes will scream and yell about anything. And that's why we're here. We want to take our voice to a...
We're now calling them soggy Pop Tarts.
Love it, love it. Please say that on every episode. I love that.
Yeah, a lot of people are starting to say that now, so I think it's great.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about a few people that are the protected, gods of TikTok, that if you just say their name, your account gets banned. So we're going to take the discussion on to here to talk about he who must not be named. There's actually 2 of them we're going to be talking about. The first is the infamous Dylan Mulvaney. And I'm sure everybody knows about Dylan Mulvaney. He's been around, and yes, I'm saying he because I don't give a crap what anybody thinks. Dylan is a man. And, he's been making a mockery of real women for a little bit over a year now, and anybody who mentions him on TikTok gets instantly has the FBI raid their house, and they get sentenced to federal prison just for saying his name online. I feel like we're about to come to that. I only think I'm half exaggerating when I say that, but we definitely wanted to talk about him on today's show, especially this ridiculous virtue signaling victim mentality clip that I'm about to play right now. Play the clip. So what do you think of that?
Well, where to begin? Um, Honestly, I just think that it's honestly so hard to find words because this group that is a protected class is biological, not all men, right? Because there's some biological women, but it's the biological men who are the ones that are making a total mockery of us women. They're the ones that want to come into our spaces. They're the ones that like to basically tell us what being a woman is by the stereotypical, you know, your hair done, your nails done, like all that stuff. And it's also a big slap in the face to real trans women who have actually went through the surgeries, went through the time, the money that they've spent, the, everything that they've went through to try to pass as a real biological woman. And you have people like Dylan Mulvaney who are just, yeah, let me throw on a dress and put on some lipstick and poof, I'm a woman. And without any, like, no surgeries, no hormones, no nothing.
Absolutely, and if you just look at the beginning of that clip, there's that whole, what did the caption say? I think it said, um, after months of hiding because of transphobes, it's like, I think Dylan Mulvaney has become one of the singularly most privileged people in America right now, and I think that is the ridiculousness of it.
Yes.
He has a even if you want to say he's being 100% genuine, he has a mental disorder. If that, if you're going to treat him as actually trans, it means he has a mental disorder, and this is the only disorder where you announce that you have it, and then you're given endorsement deals, you're given $1 million contracts, you gain millions of followers overnight. I mean, if I just said, "Hey, I'm schizophrenic," or "Hey, I have manic depression," people would feel sad for me, and I'm sure people might try to help me and support me, but I'm not just going to get lucrative multi-million dollar contracts and deals from that. The effort would be to
Right.
try to get me help. If people were going to be doing things for me and supporting me, they'd be trying to, maybe they'd be setting up a GoFundMe to get me mental health care. I mean, I feel like that's what you do for somebody who's genuinely ill. In this case, we're supposed to be saying, well, now you're famous, now you're going to get fame, now you're going to get endorsement deals, and you're going to get all this stuff. And then you're sitting there claiming that you're hiding from everybody. I mean, that's what pisses me off, too,
Right.
about that.
Well, because they're also making it seem like that people like us are so violent and we're the ones that are, causing death to these people. You know, I'm sure there have been a time or two where there has been a hate crime against a trans person, but hasn't there been a hate crime towards every single group of people, whether they were straight, whether they were white, whether they were black? Every single community has dealt with some sort of hate crime. So for him to feel like he's, I don't want to say like superior, but he kind of feels he's like being oppressed. Like, oh, it's only me, it's only the trans community, it's only people in the LGBT community that are getting attacked, and we have to go into hiding. And it's like, from what? Like, from an argument? That's
I mean, I didn't know he was in hiding. He could have fooled me. It seems like he was on every screen and he
and
was appearing in
everywhere.
everything. I mean, that's the silliness of it.
And I mean, you're sitting there making TikToks every day, sometimes several times a day. So, like, what exactly are you like hiding from?
Exactly. And you know what? The saddest thing is there's some kid in some little town somewhere who probably has gender dysphoria right now who's going to kill themselves. And Dylan doesn't give a crap because he's
No.
living the life, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
he's living his life, getting richer by the day, having all this exposure, and he doesn't care about some actual kid with gender dysphoria sitting in their house somewhere. I mean, that doesn't concern him. He's getting everything his heart desires. And I think if I actually had gender dysphoria and I was watching him, it would actually piss me off. It wouldn't make me feel inspired. I'd be like, wow, well, you know what? Good for you.
Right.
You've made a career out of it. What about me? I'm sitting
Right.
here suicidal.
Suffering pretty
That's
much.
how I would feel. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's unbelievable, and I know you had something to show us. The other TikTok darling that you can't speak ill of. I'll let
Oh
you say who
my.
he is. I'm afraid to say his name because I'm afraid I'm gonna get raided here by the FBI. So you can
I
say
know,
his
I know.
name.
They might come knocking down our doors any minute. So, this character, a lot of y'all may have heard of before, our good old friend Jeffrey Marsh, who a lot of people are really questioning his motives as to if he is indeed a groomer or what exactly he's about. But I just want y'all to watch this clip and, see what y'all think about it.
I want to talk to the kids. Parents watch the video and then hand the phone over to the young kids. Hi there. I get asked a lot, are you a boy or a girl? And I love that question. And so I wanted to just tell you sometimes human beings are more than boy or girl. Sometimes we're something else. Sometimes we're both. Sometimes we kind of float in between, and sometimes we're a boy, sometimes we're a girl, because human beings are creatures and we're wild and exciting. But I want to ask you a favor. If you see a kid like me or an adult like me, would you be extra nice to them? Would you do me a favor and be very, very kind? Yeah, like anybody, we can feel lonely. And so if you're kind to us, it would be really, really important.
So,
Okay, that was disturbing, to say the
to say the
least.
least.
Um, Well, there's that whole vibe of like, hand me your kid, put your kid on the phone. It's like you wouldn't do that.
There's like some character that he reminds me of. I cannot, like, I don't remember what character, but like some creepy character from like either like an old Disney movie or something like that he reminds me of. And I can't think of it. And it's been driving me nuts for the past like 3 months that I've been thinking about it.
Well, to me, it's like he's like Herbert the pervert from Family Guy. It's like it's this soft voice that's like, hand me your child. And you know what? If any straight white dude went on a video and said the exact same words he was, you would be trying to file a police report against that person just for making the video. And the
Oh
fact
my
that
God, they would be thrown in jail that
Oh
day.
yeah, and the fact that you have, and so he gets to make this video, right? And then you can't, even if you think in your head that it's creepy, you can't say it because you're phobic if you say it. You can't
Oh
question
yeah.
his motives. And
Yeah.
and I feel like it would be literally like he could stand in a grocery store, right? And say to somebody, "Hand me your child," and you would feel obligated to because you would look like a bigot if you don't. And I think that's where you see the privilege of this type of person, and it's honestly very stomach churning, I would say.
What's even more weird is the amount of followers that not only Dylan Mulvaney, but Jeffrey Marsh have on several social media platforms, not just TikTok, but Instagram. I don't
Hmm.
go on Twitter, but I'm sure Twitter also. And, I'm sure a lot of those followers could possibly be bought, but at the same
Hmm.
time, they have hundreds of thousands of
Oh yeah.
followers. So it just baffles me that there are so many people who agree with them and don't think that what anything that they do is wrong. Especially Jeffrey Marsh when he was addressing his videos a couple months ago to specifically children and telling them that, oh, there is a Patreon that I have that we can chat outside of TikTok because certain things on TikTok in the comments, they can't be discussed on here. So like what motive do you have to do that? And like
Oh yeah.
the fact that his followers see nothing wrong with it. Like what?
Well, the thing that's so bizarre, I don't know if you noticed in that clip, but there's a point in it. It's like halfway through where he actually says he refers to himself almost like he's a kid at one point, and it almost like creeped me out because it added another element of creepiness to it. You know how like Michael Jackson, like people say like he never grew up and he thought he was a kid when he was an adult. I got that kind of
Hmm.
vibe from that because he said, if you see kids like me, and then he goes, actually adults like me. He literally almost referred to
Ah,
himself
that's
as,
right.
yeah, and there was something I think maybe he was just misspeaking, so maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But putting together the whole context of that of the type of dialogue he has with people, it added this additional level of creepiness to me that he almost through like a Freudian slip referred to himself as a kid. Um, and to me that added just another level to it. I don't know if you noticed that while you were watching it, but
No, I did not even notice that. Thank you for pointing that out. And here's another weird thing. Look at how Dylan Mulvaney, you know who Eloise is, right? The little girl who lived in the Plaza Hotel. Like she was what, like a 5 to like 7-year-old girl.
I think
It
so.
was it was a
Describe it to
movie.
me.
I think it was like kids' books.
Uh huh.
Um, but I'm pretty sure that Dylan Mulvaney, like, he has this like idea that he's Eloise, right? And it's like, why are you pretending to be a, like, let's just say a 5, 10-year-old little girl? So is that really a slip up for Jeffrey Marsh, or is there some sort of like sick, twisted agenda where they want to be little girls?
That's a great point you brought up about Dylan Mulvaney too, because I feel like if you watch his mannerisms, he doesn't act like an adult woman. I think you're totally right. He acts like a child. Because he puts on like a. I think maybe he would tell you he's just doing a woman's voice, right? But it sounds more like a child's voice. It's like how if you were a grown man imitating a 10-year-old girl or
Right.
younger, that's the voice he does. There's no adult woman like you're an adult woman. I'm assuming your gender. I hope that's okay. But
That's okay. It's okay if you
okay,
misgender
just
me. I
wanted to
won't get
make sure.
upset about it.
So, so you're an adult. I mean, you sound nothing like him. And you'd say adult women have many different types of ways of talking, but like he doesn't talk like an adult. It's like a child. You're
It's
absolutely right. I think his persona
it's
is a child. It's a child.
and even in one of his other TikToks, I actually stitched it, and of course, surprise, surprise, it got removed for harassment and bullying. But in the video, it was where he, I guess, was on the cover of like the Them magazine, and he was like, "I'm finally like coming out of girlhood," and it's like, girlhood. Shouldn't you at least be saying womanhood if you're going to be coming out of anything? I mean, why are you saying girlhood as if you are a prepubescent female? You're not. And it's pretty disturbing.
Well, here's where I think that it's going, and maybe this is me being a little Alex Jonesy, but that's almost like he's identifying as a younger age. And a lot of people said this a few years ago. Oh my gosh, like what's the difference between identifying as the other gender versus maybe you're an 18-year-old that has sex with a 12-year-old, and then you say, "Well, I identify as 12."
Isn't there something going on with that right now, though, with like people not really saying that age isn't like a real thing, too? Like, aren't we on that bandwagon starting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how prevalent it is at this moment. I would believe you if you told me that it was becoming more prevalent because everything that I thought was just on the fringe has become mainstream lately. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to look into it. And we could talk about it on next week's show. But yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised because you're hearing Dylan say this. I'm coming out of girlhood. He identified as a girl. Now he identifies as a woman. So that's just that the implication behind that is disturbing because nobody questioned it, right? You can't question it. So
No, of course not.
so you have to go along with it. And what happens if there's another person that does that? Then we have to go along with it. Then we have to go along with it. And then soon we'll have hundreds of people that we will have gone along with it with, right? And then what?
Right.
And then what? That's the question.
I mean, how much more are we supposed to just say, okay, 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 and accept before it's 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 more ludicrous than what it is
Yeah.
now? I mean, come on, you have people identifying as and using neo pronouns like with mangoes and stuff. I mean, how much more of this stuff do we really need to accept?
Right. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. Um Awesome. Okay, I'm going to segue into the next thing we're talking about. I'm not sure if you had a chance to check this out, but the Daily Mail reported on this. I'll have to pull up. We'll see if I can pull up the actual TikTok video. I'm not sure. It may have gotten taken down, but um, this was an interesting story. A liberal TikToker goes viral. This is the headline I'm reading from the Daily Mail. After complaining that the only masculine and chivalrous men she can find are conservative, and apparently her channel was full of really left wing progressive stuff, criticizing gender, the patriarchy, everything. And in this video, and it went viral because she actually talks about wanting to be able to have a feminine, and she even says she wants to be able to have a feminine traditional role as a mother and wife, and but she doesn't want, but she wants a progressive man, but who also takes on a traditional male role. And I thought it just jumped out to me because I feel like, and this is what I see a lot on the left, people like they like the concepts when it works for them, but they don't like the concepts when it doesn't work for them. And
Right.
it struck me, it's like, okay, so you want traditional gender roles when it suits you. Because one of the things she talked about was wanting a man that provides for her and takes care of her and works and is the breadwinner. And so you like the gender roles, the evil gender roles that society creates. You like those when it benefits you, right? When you're taken care of and when you have you have a roof over your head and you're not having to worry. But when it doesn't benefit you, you don't like it. So I think it's just the sense of entitlement that you see on so many people on the left. It's you want to have your cake and eat it too. And I just think and it makes me like sad for this generation because I think this generation in general is really growing up having no sense of how the world works and having no sense of how relationships work. And I just think we're going to see um, more families ripped apart by dysfunctional relationships, and it's going to be this is going to be, I think, the worst generation, period, in terms of long
I
term
agree.
outlook on our kids. And I know you are like doing a wonderful job, like with your son. I think it's like wonderful, and
Thank
so
you.
like kudos to you. But there's a lot of people who aren't like you who are fucked up, and and their kids are going to be.
Unfortunately.
So I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I think we're modeling. When I say we, I don't mean you and I, but a lot of people our age are modeling all the wrong things, and it's just bleh.
So let me get this straight. This woman wants conservative, she basically wants the conservative lifestyle, right? Without claiming to be a conservative,
She
pretty
wants
much.
a left wing progressive male to be her husband or partner, but she feels that she can't find. Well, I mean, the progressive idea is that there's no such thing as gender, and that gender doesn't matter, and that men shouldn't have any kind of traditional masculinity, right? That's the whole
Hmm.
thing. Is that all because they had to say toxic masculinity. So all masculinity, really, what that means when a leftist says that is that all masculinity is toxic. Not just jerk men who treat women like shit, but all masculinity is toxic because it's created, it's the patriarchy and all this stuff. So she wants a progressive male, and remember, to be progressive, you have to not believe in gender, you have to not believe that there are roles, but she wants to inhabit those same traditional roles that she claims to hate. And so you can't have it both ways. You can't be
No, you can't have
maybe
your
the
cake and
fact
eat
that
it too.
right, maybe the fact that you want those roles, it's because it's worked for all of human history. And of course, there are jerks, there are men who treat women like shit, but that's not normal masculinity. That's actually being a bad person.
Right.
I think maybe these gender roles have worked on average. There's obviously dysfunctional people that shouldn't be around other people, but on the whole, traditional gender roles, at least to some extent, have made mankind survive all these years because you had passing on to the next generation, we modeled certain things, and on average, those things worked, and that's why we didn't die out like the
Right.
dinosaurs, is
Right.
because of those things. And now you want to throw all that away, but you also want it when it benefits you. And you can't have it both ways.
No, you can't. And I mean, the fact that I don't understand how you can want, you know, you want something the way that it's been, like you said, for generations and generations that have worked, but you want to live by this delusion at the same time. Like
Yeah,
how I don't get how you can be conflicted about that. Like it
right.
just it baffles me.
She wants a guy to say that I'm your husband and I'm going to take care of you and you're going to be my one woman and we're going to have a traditional relationship. But in my mind, I have to be an activist and say that all those gender roles are worthless. It's like that person doesn't exist. Sorry, that person doesn't exist. You're going to have one or the other. And maybe the fact that you're yearning for those roles, maybe you're not as progressive as you think you are. Because if you truly were, you'd be okay not living by those roles.
Right.
So that's what I think. And speaking of people and how leftists are destroying people, I know you had a story you wanted to talk about from my home state,
Ah,
Connecticut.
yes. So, have you heard about what is going on with Chelsea Mitchell? Or do you know who that is?
I was reading about it. I know you sent me the info, and I was reading about it.
Okay, so apparently she has been known for being the fastest girl in Connecticut. She's this track star. She was a track star all through high school. She's in college now. I believe she's on her first year of college, but she's actually suing the state of Connecticut after losing to trans athletes more than once. And it's her, along with, I believe, four former track runners, and they've lost like first place, and they've lost medals to trans athletes. And one of them quoted just two athletes took so many opportunities away from biological females. Even though there were only two of them, they took 15 state championships away from other girls. And there were 85 girls that were directly impacted from them being in the races.
And you have to think of what that means. It's not just for each of those 85 girls, it's not just that championship. It's their education coming after high school that's affected. They may not get a scholarship. They may not. There's a whole host of ramifications of that for those girls' lives.
I mean, who's to say that these girls aren't trying to possibly be in the Olympics one day?
Yeah.
And every single race, especially in your late high school years, are priority. So I mean, you get looked at by college scouts mostly your sophomore, junior, and a little bit of your senior year. So the fact that these girls could have been the eyes of one scout and then they lost, and I mean, that's going to impact them for life, especially if it, God forbid, was a college that was like their top choice that they really wanted to go to. They were so
Oh
excited
yeah.
about it, and now their opportunities are poof,
Well, the
vanished.
tragedy of it is also like I had some friends growing up who were runners, and it's a tough sport, and it takes a lot of discipline. They're always talking about shaving half a second off their mile, or shaving, getting their mile down by 1% in time. And the fact that they have to work so hard to shave a couple seconds off their mile, and then to have that just shit all over of them when they get beaten by a biological male. I mean, that's literally like, if you're writing a novel and you finish this 500-page manuscript, and then someone just comes in and rips it up and throws it in a fireplace. That's literally what it feels like to them.
Right.
It's their whole life's work gone out the window, and it's just, I can't even imagine what that feels like to them.
I could not either. I mean, I had a couple of girls that, I mean, it wasn't track or cross country or anything, it was soccer, but one girl that I grew up with ever since first grade, she actually is a competitive soccer player in, I believe, Greece right now is where she's on a team. Yeah, she's been amazing her entire life. Now, we didn't have this kind of problem when we were in high school, right? But I could just imagine if this situation happened to her, and if we had like the trans athletes for soccer, and God forbid, if she did not get chosen to further her career and become a professional soccer player because of her opportunities being taken away from trans athletes. Like, we did not have these problems when we were in high school. So I feel so bad for these kids just because a small minority wants to be more inclusive. I mean, if you want to be more inclusive, then have your own team, and y'all can compete against whoever you want, each other. I don't care. But stop taking opportunities away from biological women and who have worked their asses off to get to where they are, especially in sports. And everyone knows that women's sports are not as, I don't want to say not as liked, but they're just, it's it's just not the same as the men's sports, right?
Absolutely, and I used to be a couple years ago, I used to be a big proponent of compromise on this issue, and I think I used to have a very good nature about it. I used to feel like, okay, I get it. Maybe somebody's transitioned, and I thought, well, maybe we could go by testosterone levels. We could go by certain skeletal makeup, because you can do these pretty fancy scans in medicine now, and you can determine somebody's body composition. I thought, okay, we could come up with these standards that maybe even if you identify as the other gender, but if your body makeup matches that of the team you're competing on, and you're within a certain level, I'd said okay. But every time I would say that, I would still be called a bigot, because they would say, well, it's not about the biology. It's about the identity, the gender identity. So even the times where I've tried to have a very nuanced position on this, I was shut down, and it was still characterized as a bigoted position. Even if I was like, hey, let's come up with something that honors your gender identity, but it's also fair physiologically,
Trying to be
for your
in the
teammates.
middle ground, having both sides be accepting over something and being okay with it.
Right, but I felt that even that position was rejected. So, when you do that, it's like, okay, bye, Felicia.
I mean,
I mean, why are
how
we
much
gonna?
more can you possibly do? You know what I mean? Like, what do these people want? What exactly do they want? I mean, it's pretty obvious that at this point they just want to take over everything with women's sports, women's spaces, women's clothing brands. I mean, women's tampons. Like, what
Yeah.
more do these biological men want? I mean,
Yeah, and I think the silliness of it. I have a feeling like let's say we fast forward 10 years, right, and we've gone into a position of radical acceptance. I know I won't, but let's say society does, and we accept all of this gender ideology as true and normal. What's going to happen is the alphabet mafia is going to stop getting the headlines because if we accept something as totally normal, right, it won't be newsworthy anymore. And but what happens when these people stop being in the limelight is then they need to do something more outrageous to get that same attention because I think a lot of it's about the attention. I
oh,
think Leah,
100% agree.
I think Leah Thomas, I don't think or Dylan Mulvaney, whoever you want to use, they don't care whether people they know I think that if everybody honored their gender identity, they wouldn't get headlines.
Right.
And they like the attention. They like I think Leah Thomas likes being a trans swimmer that's so brave and made these headlines. I have a feeling that the satisfaction comes much more from the headlines about how she's or almost he is an inspirational that Leah Thomas is an inspirational trans person. And I think that matters much more to Leah Thomas than the swimming.
Well, I
I
mean,
think.
look, I mean, the fact that he was ranked, what, 500 and something in the men's league, and then poof, you're in the women's league and you're ranked number one, getting trophies, getting medals, getting, your
Mhm.
picture taken, getting all the spotlight, like you said. So that would make total sense.
But is it even about the swimming anymore at this point? Like to me,
I
like
don't believe so. No. I mean, do I believe that, he enjoys swimming? Sure. But I think
sure,
that
oh
he
yeah,
enjoys
absolutely.
swimming more as a female now just because of the fact that he knows he'll be number one.
But what I'm saying is, I don't even think it's about being number one at swimming. I think it's about being an influential trans person. I
Okay, I
think
see what you're
I don't
saying.
like.
Yeah.
I think it started about the swimming, but I think if you hooked Leah Thomas up to a polygraph machine and you asked, are you more proud of the fact that you're now a number one in swimming versus are you more proud of the fact that you're a trans person with this huge following? They would feel more excited about their recognition for being trans than they are for their swimming. That's what I think.
That
Maybe maybe one day we'll be famous and we can have Leah Thomas on this show and he can tell us.
Oh, could you imagine? I would
Could you
honestly
imagine?
love that. I would love that if we can interview some of these people. I trust me, I was thinking about that last night actually. I was.
Everybody, share this podcast with your friends so we can get there. But yeah, that's what I think. Um So yeah, I actually think it's kind of sad, but we've actually reached the last topic of the show, and we will be back next week. But this is actually something I made a TikTok video about on my old account, which is now dead. But I'm going to repeat it here because I think it's a good sign. A poll conducted by Forbes magazine has showed that Americans, on average, in terms of social issues, have shifted significantly in identifying as quote more conservative than liberal, and these are on social issues, which I think it's not surprising. I actually, I think I've mentioned a lot of times on my channel, I used to be liberal. I used to be quite liberal, actually. I became a fiscal conservative first, and then I became more socially conservative. But I think it's hard to not be. If you have a functioning brain, it's hard not to be turned off by everything going on today. But I thought it was just a cool thing. So when they did the same poll a year ago, 29% of, actually, sorry, it was 34% of respondents identified as liberal and 33% as conservative. Now it's up to 38% conservative and 29% liberal. So I think the more crazy these people get, they're pushing people who are in the middle to the right. That's definitely what happened to me. And I think it's a positive thing because soon they're going to be outnumbered and they're going to have to answer to the rest of us who are fed up. What do you think? Do you think this trend will continue, or do you think that it's gonna run out of steam?
Honestly, I think this is only the beginning and it's just going to get worse. And I know you're not very religious. And I mean, we all know that I'm not either. But a lot of things that have been, like, say, in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
right, are currently what's happening. And it's actually just a really scary and interesting thought because my grandma, she's she's very religious, but not like in a Bible thumping way. Like, she'll read the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, she'll watch her Christian shows, but she doesn't
Yeah.
go to church. So she was explaining to me how right now we're in like the fourth trumpet
Yeah.
or something, which is disease. There's going to be a persecution on Christians, specifically Roman Catholics, who we all know a lot of Christians and Catholics are conservative, amongst a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
of other things. So unfortunately, I just think this is the very beginning, and it's going to get worse from here. And I really don't know what could possibly get worse as far as like this whole gender ideology stuff. Um, but it's yeah, I don't think this is gonna end well
I guess the question is
whatsoever.
though, do you think that you're going to see more people like me who woke up and moved, or do you think that it's just going to be this small resistance and that we'll lose? I think, people use the term culture war. We are in a culture war.
No, I think it's gonna be like a full out war. I think it's gonna escalate because right now I feel like a majority of it is on social media, right? But where does a lot of things start, especially in the past 10 years? And I think you and I have talked about this before. Since social media kind of boomed in like 2010, 2011, a lot of things have gotten worse, even regarding like race and everything like that, because of social media, because of these influencers. So,
Yeah, and we start excusing behavior that's worse and worse. I don't just mean on the gender stuff. Like, I feel like people used to be able to come together and say, hey, racial discrimination is bad, and both sides could agree with that. And maybe we could both agree that some of these cop killings are bad, but we would at least have the common ground that the way to deal with it isn't to burn down someone's small business. And and I feel like we used to be able to have both sides say that, and now we have one side that almost universally will say it's not only acceptable, but it's a needed thing to do to loot and pillage and burn somebody's business down. And like when I hear that, I go, whoa! Like, what kind of moral code do you have that you're saying we're morally compelled to destroy somebody's livelihood? And people will go, oh, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. If you're a small business owner, well, if you're a small business owner, that stuff is your life. That's your inventory. That's your kids' college fund. Is the inventory you have in your store, and it's just incredibly insulting and insensitive to because a lot of those people, they're not privileged people. They're people that small business is the bloodline of their life and their children's lives.
and a lot of them are immigrants too who came here with
Oh yeah.
not a lot of money in their pocket, and they were able to be successful. And even though it may only be a small business, it's still something that is theirs, and they are proud of having that business from coming here with nothing. And to them, that's them living their American dream.
I think there's a lot of bozos out there. Somebody also told me in a comment that I have to say the word gobbledygook on at least once, at least in each of these episodes. So I'm going to say it right now. We're tired of the gobbledygook from the left, and I hope I actually felt really proud when somebody said I want you to use this word. Somebody actually messaged me on Instagram who was listening to my first two, and they said that I had said that in the first two episodes. I don't even remember it. A lot of the things I say I just say, and I actually was like, wow,
Yeah.
I have such a good following that people actually look to me to say certain things. So that actually that actually made me feel really good. So
I have
um,
not heard that word in such a long time, so I'm so glad that you said it. I honestly forgot that it still existed.
I'm I know I've become like I feel like I'm such a boomer because I have some of these phrases that are like that I feel like 60-year-olds use. But you know what? I'd rather be 60 than a 21-year-old who doesn't know what gender they are. I'd much rather be an old person. I think that's much more appealing to me. But
Oh my God, yes. Are you kidding me?
absolutely.
Absolutely. Any day
Absolutely.
of the week.
So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're gonna be back on what's a week from the 17th? The 24th? I'm trying to do mental math. See, I'm not a very good Asian because I can't do the mental math in my head. We'll be back.
I can't
We'll
math
be
either. Don't
back.
feel
Well,
bad.
they're going to be listening to it on Saturday, so I'll just say a week from today. See, I'm not good at this yet. We'll be back a week from today, talking about more stuff and more madness, and we hope to see you there.
Yes. So excited.
Awesome. Okay, guys, take care. Have a good week.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.